So if you're just learning iMovie for the first time, let's start with the basics. When you open iMovie for the very first time, you're faced with this big blank projects window. So hit the big plus button to create a new project. It's going to give you the option to either choose movie or trailer. Today we're going to choose movie. That will give us a nice blank canvas to start with. Now I'm using iMovie version 10.3.3. That is the newest version of iMovie as of the time of this recording. Many people make the mistake of jumping off the deep end, going after all the bells and whistles, making it really complicated. It can be hard to know what to do when you just have this big black screen in front of you. First, we're going to bring in one video clip. There's a couple different ways to do that. What I like to do is find my video files that are on my computer or my external hard drive and drag them into my project. You can literally drag multiple video files down to the timeline area of your iMovie project. Or if you have video files that you have shot on your phone or on your iPad and they're syncing with your Photos app through iCloud, you can pull in those clips directly from the Photos option over in the library on the left-hand side. Now, one thing I want you to notice is that you have a settings menu over here on the right-hand side. Take a look at whether this is a 1080p project or a 720 project. The resolution of your iMovie project is going to be determined by the footage that you first import into your iMovie project. So if you want to create a video that's going to play horizontally on a screen, like for YouTube, like a regular YouTube video, you want to make sure that you import a clip that is the exact resolution. Typically for a YouTube video that I create for myself, they're always 1080 and they are 30 frames per second. Now we haven't really done much in the way of editing this project yet, right? All we've done is imported our footage and moved things around a little bit. This is the B in my BFF editing process: basic, fancy, and fine-tuned. This is the editing process that works no matter what video editor you're using, whether it's on your desktop, your phone, your iPad, and I have a whole cheat sheet you can download for free. I'll put a link down in the description and I'll remind you at the end about it too. There are a few more steps here in the basic edit, like how do you get rid of the pieces and parts of your clips that you don't want in your video. So let's go back into iMovie. So first things first, you probably have a clip or several clips where you want to keep parts of that clip in your video and you need to get rid of all the other stuff. If you're talking to a camera, maybe it's where you say 17 times. Maybe you messed up your words, you need to get rid of that. In this example here, I am putting together a few clips that I took for a review for an Amazon video. I'm not talking to the camera as a talking head in this video, but I am doing a voiceover as I'm going through some of the items here with this new microphone that I got. And there are a couple of different ways to get rid of the sections that we want to get rid of. First is if you have one clip, but you just need to get rid of like a few seconds in the beginning and a few seconds at the end, you can trim. All you have to do is drag it like you're dragging the handles. If you think about video editing, like your clips on the timeline are just like a piece of tape. You can rip that tape at the beginning and the end to get a nice clean line, or you can rip it into a bunch of different pieces and rearrange them. That's exactly what we're going to do here inside of iMovie. What if you need to get rid of the pieces and parts in the middle of your clip, in the middle of that piece of tape? You can see my cursor, my arrow. It's creating this vertical white line. This is sometimes referred to as a scrubber bar. If you just line this up for, say, where you want to split your clip, this is where you're going to rip that tape in half. If I just click right here, my clip is selected. The scrubber bar is right here. So I'm going to right click on my mouse and choose split clip, or Command B on your keyboard. When I do that, my piece of tape is now split into two pieces of tape, right? Now each of these is now a separate clip. You could move this around, you could delete it. So back to the BFF editing guide, we added our footage to the timeline, we trimmed it, we split it. We can rearrange it literally by clicking and dragging. You can see where if I'm moving this along, it's giving me that blue space or a blue line. I'm going to drop it right into there. So you can rearrange your clips, your pieces of tape in whatever order you want them to go. So in the project media area, that's the square in the top left-hand side of your screen, you're going to see all of the clips that you have imported, whether they're down in your timeline or not. They're all going to be right there for you. In fact, if you add stuff to your timeline and then you decide, oh, I don't really want that clip there, or I'm not ready for that yet, you can delete it from your timeline. Just select it, hit delete on your keyboard, and it will still be there in your project. You don't have to go hunting for it on your hard drive or in your photo library. Now you might notice an orange line at the bottom of some of these clips here in the media area. That orange line is there to let me know that that clip is in the timeline already. And if we have trimmed our clips or split our clips up and removed some sections from the timeline, you'll also be able to see that that orange line indicates where and how much of that clip is down in our project. The last thing here under basic is titles and text. Now, I think titles and text is a little bit more of an advanced thing, but they seem to be something that most people are interested in, even for a basic edit. And there's a few different ways that you can add titles and text. So right here at the top of the media section, you have My Media, Audio and Video, and then you have Titles. So click Titles. It's going to give you a whole bunch of pre-designed, pre-animated title options. Some of these you could think of them as a title screen. Some of them are considered like a lower third, like this one where it's in the literally the lower third of the video. Some of them have animation, some of them don't. Some of them are a little wild here, a little bit extravagant. Let's do this one. Let's go here. So you're just gonna select it, drag it down to your timeline. And on my keyboard, I'm gonna hit Command plus just to zoom in a little bit. You can also zoom in on your timeline over here on the right-hand side. But you can see we have this purplish, bluish title clip here, and this acts a lot like a regular video clip. So you can see that you can actually expand and make it even longer. You can make it shorter, and it's going to be pre-animated for you. Animates in, animates out. And if I double click on this title clip, it's going to select the text up here where I can edit it. So let's just say DJI microphone. We'll call it that. So there's our title. We also have a couple of other options like changing out the font, for example. Some of these might work a little bit better for you. So you're not stuck with the exact font that the pre-designed title gives you. You can go left, center, or right justification. Some fonts will give you the option to make it bold or italic, or give an outline. You can also move this, so you can just select it and drag it just like you can with a regular clip. So you can design your titles and then move them where you want them to go. So from here, you have a nice, simple, basic edit. You imported your footage, you edited out the stuff you wanted to get rid of, you trimmed your clips, you split your clips, and maybe you rearranged a little bit, and perhaps you even added a title to your video. If you're happy with that, you can export this as it is. That means you take this iMovie project, you let iMovie package it up into an actual video file that you can put on YouTube or social media. And the way that you do that, this is a little bit hidden. Up here in the way top right, there is a share icon right here. If we hit that, it gives us a couple of different options. Now, these share options have changed a lot over time. So if what you're seeing here on the screen doesn't look like what you are seeing on your screen, it might just mean that we're using two different versions. So what you can do here is choose export file. This is what I recommend. Export file. Don't choose YouTube and Facebook or email. Choose export file. This is going to create a video file. It'll save right on your hard drive, and then you can send it to your social media. So right here at the top, you can give this a title, and then you can give it a description if you want to. It doesn't really matter that much. Under format, you want to make sure you have selected video and audio. Under resolution, you of course want to choose the resolution that you want this to be exported at. And under quality, this is really, really important. Under quality, choose high. Don't choose best, ProRes. That is going to give you an enormous file size, and it's not needed unless you happen to be planning to play this video on like a giant movie screen. Just choose high. High is perfect. For compression, it really depends on what you're doing with this project, where you're going to be uploading or sending this project. You can choose either one. I'm going to go for better quality. I'm going to choose next down here on the bottom right, and then it asks for the actual file name that you want this to be called and where you want it to go. I like to put everything that I do right on my desktop so I don't have to go find it later. I don't have to figure out what folder was that in. So just choose desktop, make it easy on yourself, choose save, and now this is going to export. Again, it hides what is happening up here in the top right. You have this little pie timeline here, and it's going to go around. But when it's done, you should get a notification on your actual computer, plus that video is going to show up on your desktop or wherever you saved it to. Moving on from that basic edit, let's talk about fine tuning, and then we'll get into the fancy stuff. I added in a few clips here from a previous YouTube video because I want to show you some examples if you're talking directly to the camera here. So when you're doing your fine tuning, what I like to do first is I call it cleaning up the jump cuts. So what does this mean? It means that I go and I zoom right in anywhere that I have a cut. I make a lot of mistakes in my videos, and so I have a lot of jump cuts where I'm talking and maybe mid-sentence I might cut to a completely different clip because I messed up a sentence here and I messed up a sentence there. I could put them together and create a relatively cohesive sentence, right? So one of the things I like to do, especially if I'm doing a talking head talking to the camera, there often seems to be a few frames at the beginning and the end of your cuts or of your clips that create like a little bit of an awkward silence or an awkward breath. And we can just get rid of that. We can take that out. So what I like to do is zoom in as far as I can, watch every cut, every transition. Should do after you post every. I'm gonna remove that. That's the part where I obviously messed up. I told you I mess up a lot. And this is where I want this to start. You see how right here, I'm taking a breath. I'm getting ready to say the next word. But the next word is where I started messing up, so that's why I cut it there. So I'm taking this breath, but then it cuts to the other clip, right? So I'm just gonna get rid of where I'm taking that breath. And I don't wanna cut those waveforms. I don't wanna cut where I'm actually talking. Still a little bit awkward, but it's better. And I would go in and do this with all of the jump cuts. Every time I have, you know, that piece of tape on the timeline where I have multiple cuts and multiple pieces of tape, I would just go in and make sure that the space between is just as smooth as I can get it. Now let's talk about adding B-roll. So what you have on your timeline already, what I have here is called A-roll. This is my main footage. It's where I'm talking to the camera in this case. B-roll would be any other footage that you might use sort of like over top of your main footage, over top of the footage where you're talking to your camera. So for example, I'm going to pull this in here. So this is a screencast, a screen recording that I'm using as B-roll. So maybe as I'm talking about something in particular, I can pull up B-roll here. I literally just took my B-roll clip and dragged it down here and I put it over top. And it's layered just like a cake. The track that's on top is going to be the one that you see on the screen. And then you can edit these just like you would your clips. You can make a cut, you can delete what you don't need. When we're fine tuning, we want to look at the audio levels of this video to make sure it's going to be fine when the viewer is viewing the video. So what I like to do usually is I will have headphones or earbuds in so that I can get a good sense of the actual audio levels. And I like to put the volume of my computer about halfway or a little higher than halfway. And I find that gives me a good sense of what the end result volume is going to be. So it's not too quiet for viewers and it's not too loud for viewers. And in this example I have pulled up here, I'm doing a voiceover. So I'm talking while I'm holding my phone in my hand and recording this clip. So what you want to look for here is that your audio levels aren't so high. If I bring this up, you don't want them to be so high that they're in the yellow or even up to the red. If you see red peaks, you don't want that peaking to happen. So if you have yellow spikes, you want to bring your level down. I'm just grabbing this bar, bringing it down until there are no yellow or red spikes. If your audio is really low and it's hard to hear, but you want the viewer to be able to hear, just grab that bar and bring it up. Another thing you might find useful is that you can fade your audio in or fade it out. So we have our audio level bar right here. Way on the end, you can see this little tiny button. So this is where we can trim our clips, right? But if you hover over the button, you have a different arrow. If you pull this over to the right, you're going to see how it has this gradual fade. So this is going to let your audio fade in. And then if you do it at the end of a clip, it'll do the opposite. It will fade out for you. So if you want to have your audio fade out very gradually, then you're going to want to drag this way over. If you want it to be a subtle and quick fade out, then you can just make it a short one like this. And if you have a section of your clip where you just want this one section to have a lower volume or a higher volume without having to make cuts to your clip, you can add keyframes to your audio. So let me show you what I mean. So I have this clip selected. My cursor is right here. I'm going to hold on my keyboard the Option key. This is going to give me this little plus sign here. I'm going to click there. I'm going to click here. Again, I'm holding the Option key. I'm going to click here and here. Now I have these keyframes, and you can take one of these and you can move it up or down. But you can also, holding your Shift key to select two of them, you can select the two middle ones and bring those up or down. Okay, we have the basic, we have the fine tune, we need that final F in this BFF editing method. Let's talk about the fancy stuff that you can do with iMovie. Let's talk about adding background music and sound effects to your videos. Now I have a whole collection of background tracks that I like to use in my YouTube videos along with some sound effects, and I get them all from Epidemic Sound, who I've partnered with to bring you this video. Epidemic Sound has by far the best selection of background music in all different kinds of genres, and I don't run into any copyright issues because my Epidemic Sound license works on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. It also would work on Facebook. So I have my go-to collection of background tracks from Epidemic Sound, but every once in a while I go take a peek at the site, see if there's anything new, because they're always releasing new songs. And when I find something I like, I just hit that heart icon. It will save this to a list of tracks that I have favorited. And then what's really, really cool is if you find something you like and you want to hear more just like it, you can hit this button here. It will take you to all of the background tracks that sound similar or are within the same genre or even from the same artist. And then all I have to do is click and drag my background music track down here. It creates its own track right here inside of iMovie. Now, if you want to use Epidemic Sound, I have a link down in the description below this video. It's a special link. It will get you a 30-day free trial. So make sure to use that link. You can find all of the songs that you could ever imagine to use as background tracks. We're going to have to do some things with the volume of this background track, but I want to also show you you, you have sound effects with Epidemic Sound. Every once in a while, I throw sound effects in, especially like if I show something on the screen. Like for example, I have this video I did on the do's and don'ts of using background music, and I'll usually do like a little pop to make that show up here. I get those pops from Epidemic Sound as well. What you have to do if you want a pop is search for a mouth pop. That's like, oh my God, I just did it. So I brought this background track in here, and if I zoom out a little bit, this of course is a project that is sort of fictitious, right? Because I'm just showing you around iMovie, but you can see that this is, the volume is peaking out. It's giving us those yellow peaks, and we don't really want that in our video. It's gonna make it impossible to hear what's being said in this talking head. So we're gonna bring this way down. I usually like to say between like 8–10% or less. Sometimes they go as low as 6 for background music if the background music is playing while you're talking in your video. You don't want your viewer to have to strain to hear what you're trying to say, and you don't want it to be distracting. The background music is there to enhance the video, enhance the content, enhance whatever it is that's on the screen, not to distract from it. So always make sure you lower that background music down, and then you can edit your background music just like you would your regular clips. So you can trim the end, or that was the beginning, but you can trim the end or the beginning, and you can also fade out or fade in your background music track as well, which I highly recommend at least doing a fade in and a fade out. Same thing too with a sound effect. Let's pull in a mouth pop here. Sound effects are really short. Usually they're like a short video file, so you can hardly see it here on my timeline, but it is right here. And the volume of that sound effect is going to be high. So you always want to make sure you lower that too. Another fancy thing that you can do with your edits is to add lower thirds to your videos. Now, this could mean adding in titles, a lower third title like this down here. This is in the lower third of the video, right? But the other thing you can do is if you have some graphics that are with your like logo, your name, your website, those kinds of things, you can just add those in as regular video clips. So let me show you what I mean. I have this Meredith Marsh lower third. If I drag this down here, so this is an animation. It's a video file. It's over top of me talking, and it just automatically, it's set at 10 seconds. It fades in, it fades out right around in here. So if you have branded lower thirds, you can just pull them right into iMovie and edit them just like you would any video clip. So we covered the basic, the fine tune, and the fancy for the most part. Now, what about all the other editing features and functions that iMovie has? Because there are quite a lot hidden under here in this menu bar at the top of the preview window. And some of them are going to prove to be very useful for you. So let's take a look. So the first one at the top is the color balance. Now, if you just choose auto, it's going to automatically balance your color. If it feels like it's off, then just choose color and let iMovie fix it for you. Moving on to color correction, here's where you can change the color correction of your videos. The crop feature, the next one over, is actually one that you're probably going to want to use, especially if you, for example, let me pull this clip in. If you accidentally shoot something with your phone vertically that you really intended for it to be horizontal. So this one here, you can see it's a vertical video. It's supposed to be turned. So if you come under the crop function, you can hit this little rotate button here, and we're going to rotate it clockwise. Now it's going the right direction. You also might have a situation where you want to crop in or reframe your video. Here's a shot taken by me on my phone. I'm at my desk. All these ugly boxes over here in the background, I don't want those to be in my shot. So I'm going to hit the crop tool. We're going to choose crop to fill, and then we get to adjust where this video gets cropped. So I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to move it up a little bit and move this over. I'm going to hit this little blue check mark over here on the right. It got rid of those ugly boxes in the corner for me. So this is kind of like zooming in on something. If I was really trying to zoom in on something in particular, you would also use that same function. So I'm going to undo both of those. The next one over is this stabilization. So if you have some shaky footage, iMovie will automatically analyze this clip and smooth it out for us. You can play around with it if you need to, but this is going to add a bunch of time to the amount of time it takes you to edit your video. So unless you really need it, you can just skip that. You also have the volume functions here. There's an option to automatically remove background noise if you need that as well. And then there's the speed function. This is where you can speed up or slow down your clip. So let's choose slow speed. You can see we have a little turtle down here. That's to let us know that this clip has been slowed down. There is a button over here where you can actually adjust just how slow or fast this clip is going to end up being. And if we instead choose fast, then it's going to make this go in fast motion. And again, you can use this button to adjust just how fast or slow this clip is. Moving over to the filter function, if you wanted to add a particular look to your clip, you could do that here with the filter. There's an audio effect as well. So if you want it to sound like you're a robot or you're on the telephone, you have those fun features as well. Now, one thing that's kind of funny about iMovie is there's no way to save your project. It does it automatically. So if you want to take a break or you want to start a new project or work on something else, just come up here to the top left under projects. You're going to want to name your movie. Hit OK, and it will take you back to your projects window. So all of your iMovie projects will be right here for you. You can open them up again and start editing where you left off. But when you're done with your edit and you want to share it, maybe upload it to YouTube or social media, you're going to have to export it. And I covered the export settings in detail earlier in this video, but just as a reminder, you're going to come to the top right share button. You're going to choose export file, give it a name, give it a description if you want to, and just make sure your format, resolution, quality, and compression are set. Choose next. You're going to give it a file name, save it on your desktop to make it easy on yourself, and hit save. Now don't forget to check out Epidemic Sound for your free trial using the link down below this video, and download the video editing BFF method. This is a cheat sheet that I created just for you so that you can learn how to create your YouTube videos without spending forever at your computer screen editing them.